Popularity is part of growing up. I bet that you can name the people that are part of the popular groups at your school and the kids that aren't. We've all been through it, although some adults tend to forget how big of a part it is in the life of a teenager. The reality is that there are real reasons about how your brain and body are changing that cause this to happen. There's research suggesting that even with all the equalizing factors, women and men still play different roles in our society. This stems back to the beginning of human existence, the caveman days, when men hunted for food and women had babies and protected the young children. It was about survival of both genders, and at that time, each sex capitalized on their strengths to survive so that their children could one day continue to create more humans. When humans felt threatened in this early human time, it was usually directly related to surviving, so their brain would signal their body to quickly assess the situation and either fight, freeze, or flee. It was an automatic response that the body created to keep humans alive and thriving. From a female perspective, there was an added level of threat as humans created villages. The theory is that when a woman was not accepted by her social circle, she might not be attractive to a man, which would limit her ability to have babies and ultimately be cast out of the circle. This directly impacts her survival. So again, it was about survival, but for women, it took a detour through the social scene. Fast forward to today, and researchers have found that the same reaction has become hardwired into our brains as humans. There is a primal need to belong to a group, except instead of the threat of being killed, the threat comes from being outcast and isolated. The newer research on the fight-flight response focuses on how females also have a different reaction in times of stress. It's called tend and befriend. When a female feels stress, she tends to move toward other familiar people to help calm her nervous system. So how does this all relate to popularity? Instead of the caveman situation, your village is your group or group of friends, either at school or out in the community or both. As you move away from your parents and into a more independent role as your own person, you shift your focus and importance from your biological family to your friend family. This doesn't mean you don't love and want to be with your family. It's just a natural part of growing up and becoming independent. The friend group you've chosen becomes your comfort zone because you feel accepted and safe, just like in the caveman example. Being a part of this group becomes essential in your emotional well-being. If you start to feel excluded, you feel threatened, which leads to the stress response. This response is the hardwired brain-body response we just learned about. So when conflicts happen between friends and adolescents, it is not a small thing. It feels like your whole world is crumbling because your brain is telling you that survival is at stake. In the girl community, this response becomes even more magnified because as adolescence and puberty start, a focus on attraction begins. This is where the primitive response of continuing humankind begins for teenagers. There are places in your brain that have been there since these caveman days that drive your need to continue the human race, and that's done through finding a partner. In order to find a partner, you need to be the most desirable. It doesn't just have to be looks, it could also include things like talent, number of friends, or even in these days, social media likes and views. This can lead to girls trying to get the most attention in their group. It's called climbing the social ladder. If you're at the top of the ladder, then you are the most visible and everyone else is under you. So often girls will compete to climb this ladder, which causes a lot of girl drama. It may look something like this. A girl in your group might feel threatened by you because she feels you're better than her in some area. She takes on that alpha or walnut girl role and starts to isolate you from the group. This causes you to feel stress. You go to try to connect with other friends in the group, since you're not accepted in that group, they tend to reject you, and this causes you more stress, and that ultimately leads to feeling alone and sometimes even desperate. The great thing about living in today's world is that we have a modern thinking brain that can take over that primitive part and calm it down. Once you start to understand that there are other ways to be connected outside of this family friend circle, then the feelings of isolation and desperation disappear, which allows you to stop that stress cycle. Here are 3 ways you can do just this. Number 1, expand your circles. When you have more than one friend family, you're able to move and use the families as you need them. If you find that one circle of friends is causing you to feel excluded or bad about yourself, shift your focus to another friend group that makes you feel included and good about yourself. If you have more than one group, you have options for support. This also means that you might have to spend some additional time cultivating and supporting each of these groups, but in the end, it is well worth it. Number 2, practice mindfulness. I know it's kind of a trendy term, but mindfulness is a key ingredient to happiness. By stopping and focusing on the here and now, you stop anxiety and stress in its tracks because you're not worried about the past or the future, only what's happening right now. When you're in the present, it doesn't allow for your brain to go down the path of the what ifs. And if you throw in a little gratitude, you're on the road to feeling happier. For some guided visualizations to help you practice mindfulness, go to the Marigold Girls YouTube page or on the website and click on For Girls. Number 3, practice self-reflection. The art of self-reflection is hard to master, but so helpful if you can. When things happen, it's important to not only ask yourself what others did, but also what your role was. Try to take the other person's perspective to see if you can find their purpose or reason for their actions. Try writing down what happened and how you reacted. Is there a way you could have reacted differently? What could the other person have done that would have made you feel different? What could you have done that would have made you feel differently? By taking a moment to reflect on the situation from a number of different angles, you can often get a different perspective on what happened. Chapter 1 in the Marigold Girls book goes over this in more detail. These tools won't stop the popularity drama around you, but it will give you some tools to add to your tool belt in order to handle it a little bit better and help you feel a little less stressed. For more information about joining the Marigold Girls tribe, please visit our website at www.marigoldgirls.com.